I think we're live now on Facebook. So, Luke, how have you been doing?
Good.
Well, tell me a little bit about your day. What did you do after the show yesterday?
Well, after the show yesterday, I was playing a very fun game in Roblox with my siblings. And it is about building a robot, building robots, and we have our robots fight each other.
Oh, that's really cool. So you're still finding things to do, even though we're socially isolating ourselves. So today I wanted to show you, let me put this on the overhead camera. What you're seeing from the top-down view is one of my favorite little 3D printers. This little guy is the Monoprice Select Mini, and we're going to see if I'm lucky, my desk cam will give me a okay, if not wobbly view of it. But the Monoprice Select Mini is a super awesome printer that I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail right now because we've got to get through our intro screen as we always do every week. Once again, I am Jim. This is Luke. You are watching Kit Bashing.
That sounded like a poem.
Bum 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 bum
All right, there was our intro. I finally got the intro out of the way. Usually we try to jump right into that as soon as I know both streams are working and stuff, but today we chatted just a little bit. So Lucas, we talked about some of the stuff we've invented for now. Free Build Fridays, as you know, and Luke is my build apprentice, by the way. He is here to help out, to offer ideas, thoughts, suggestions, but most importantly, to do what apprentices do, and that is to learn. And so Luke is learning along with all of you at home who are watching. And I am Jim. I am your host. Hopefully today will be a fun day because we're doing something totally different. This is a Free Build Friday, and as you know, on Free Build Fridays, I get to decide what we do. It might not be from the Maker Kit. It might be from the Maker Kit. We don't know. But it's whatever I decide to do. And I've been doing a whole lot of 3D printing today. Actually, over the whole last week, we've printed close to, Luke, this is crazy, we've printed close to 1,000 pieces of PPE equipment in the last week. Like in 1 week alone, from last Friday to today.
1 week?
In 1 week, about almost 1,000 pieces of PPE equipment. And what those are is those are shields or the masks. We've made some sewn masks. We've used our sewing machine. Actually, you can't see her. My mom is our sewing queen. She's been trying to avoid being on the show every day, but she's been here every day in the back. So if somebody, posts, "Hi, Mom," I'll be sure to share it with her. But she's been here every day sewing masks while I've been doing the show and doing the 3D printing stuff, and Luke's been helping me out with that stuff as well. But then we're also making these cool ear guards, which are a neat way to protect your ears if you wear masks every day. And I've shown these off on the show before, and I don't have my mask. Do I? Nope. I don't have it in front of me. I've got lots of stuff back here in the corner. Don't look. But these mask guards are really cool because when you wear a mask on your ears, the elastic comes up, wraps around your ear, and goes down. That's okay for a little while, but if you, like, for example, are a nurse and you do this all day, every day, after a while, that really starts to hurt. Or we have, like, my friend Keith, who was just here a few minutes ago and brought me lunch. Thanks, Keith. You're the best. Keith has weak cartilage in his ears, so he can't put those on. Otherwise, after a while, his ears start flopping and then they just come off. So this is a solution to help people like that, or help people whose ears get worn out. You put it behind your head like so, and then you attach one side of your ear mask. Instead of attaching it to your ear, it attaches to two of these little hooky deals. See? Hooky deals. And then on the other side, same thing. And so then you don't put any strain on your ears. What we're going to look at today is a way to 3D print one of these on the Monoprice Select Mini printer. Because This printer is super, super affordable. And in fact, if you get on places like eBay or Amazon, you can usually find these printers for well under $200. Sometimes if you find somebody who's selling one used, I actually bought 2 Monoprice printers for $60 a piece here locally through someone who was selling some used printers. And it was a really good deal. So with stuff like this, you've got to be looking out for those deals. If you do, you might find one that's super inexpensive. But there is a problem. If you look at this, let's go to the overhead camera. Does that fit, Luke?
Doesn't look like it.
Doesn't look like
but hold on.
So this is the build plate. This surface here...
Go if it's like, if we put it like that. It
still hangs over, because you still have to have a little bit of overage. So this area here, so where my fingers are, this is called the build plate. This is where your 3D printer will build something. Now, on the build plate, you also need to have a little bit of a gap around each edge. And that's because this nozzle can't make it all the way to that edge, and it can make it all the way to this edge, but it can't get to this end, and it can't really get to this end because of the underlying mechanical equipment that allows it to do that. They probably could have made a printer where it could get all the way to the edge, but that costs a lot more money, and you really don't get much value out of it. So realistically, what we're limited to on this printer is about 120 millimeters this way by 120 millimeters that way. Luke, how big is that roughly? Like if in inches, if we were to say what's 120 millimeters in inches, what does that work out to?
Well, I know that that would be about a 1/12 of a meter. And a meter is a bit more, I think a meter is a bit more than a foot. So, or maybe it's the other way, but I think it's about 1 inch.
How many inches?
I think it would be like 1 inch. Oh, close to that, 1 or 2 inches.
Well, you're a little bit off. Here's a good rule of thumb. If you are trying to convert millimeters to inches, this is not a perfect rule because it's not exactly, but if you say about 25 millimeters is roughly 1 inch, that's about how it works. So now that we've given you a scale, what do you think this is? If this is 120 millimeters by 120 millimeters, now I've given you more information. You know 25 millimeters is about 1 inch. What's your best guess now?
Hold on.
Hold on, I'm thinking.
I think a bit less than 5 inches.
A bit less than 5 inches
or maybe it's a bit more.
Is correct, sir.
Yeah.
This is about, it's like 4 3/4 inches or 4 7/8 inches, which is not big enough to print something like this. So today we're going to look at this printer and how we could make something like this work. Luke, have you ever used Tinkercad before?
Like 10 million times.
Like 10 million times. Well, tell us a little bit about Tinkercad, because we've used it before on the show, but in your own words, what is Tinkercad?
Tinkercad is a website that you can use to create 3D printed designs.
Right.
And I create some of my best 3D printing designs on Tinkercad. Like one of them I call the Luke box. It is one of my favorites.
So what does the Luke box do exactly?
The Luke box it doesn't really do anything. It's just like a decoration. It was my very first design on Tinkercad. And I made it out of some shapes like a star, cylinder, and I used a text box and I typed Luke box on it.
So you've created a lot of really cool stuff with your Luke with Tinkercad though. So that's really cool. How many you're still on the camera, by the way. Imagine that you're always on the camera. For right now, I'm leaving Luke on the camera for a serious purpose, because it occurred to me when we started the episode, I never put the actual monitor onto my outputs. So I just need to add that really quickly here to my display so that you guys can see what's going on in here. And Lucas,
What?
I want you to tell me a little bit more about the stuff. What can you do with Tinkercad?
You can create lots of things that you can 3D print. And last night, I just discovered that I have Tinkercad on my school iPad.
Yes.
And I have no idea why it's there. My school doesn't have any 3D printers or anything, but for some reason I found it on my school iPad.
Oh, still, that's not bad. So you've got it on your school iPad, so you've got a way to use it. All right, let's go back to your favorite host. So now poor Luke can stop having to be in front of the camera. Okay, everybody, sorry about that little technical delay. I totally forgot to put the screen on there, but now we should be able to click over here, and oh, there it is. We have Tinkercad on the screen. So Tinkercad is really cool. It's a program that allows you to edit and modify different things. And what we're going to do today is I'm actually going to take, and you guys won't be able to see this part because I'm doing it on another window, but I'm actually going to take Tinkercad and create a new design. And what we're going to do is we're going to modify this so that you can print it on this little printer.
Can I create it? Or make it smaller? Or do whatever you're going to want to do? Or
Can you do whatever we're going to do? Maybe. I don't know. Can you do what we're going to do?
I'll be right there.
All right. Luke's going to come in here behind me, and I'm going to let Luke kind of take the helm on creating this. So, Luke, the first step you need to do is you need to create a new design. Okay? So let's go over to Tinkercad, and why don't you do that? Create a new design. Okay. And so one thing you're going to notice with Tinkercad is that it always gives it kind of a funny name up in that top left corner. So let's click on that name and let's change that to something. Let's click.
Wait, I know what I can call it.
Now we're making a mask saver, an ear saver.
You said we're going to call it something. So I'm calling it something.
My comedian son, ladies and gentlemen. All right. So here's the first thing. What is the very first thing that we always have to do when we do Tinkercad? What's the first thing you should always add to your work surface?
A ruler.
You should always add a ruler to the work surface.
You should put it outside, right outside the work plane. Because if you do that, it will get the measurements of everything inside the work plane. If you do not do that, it will just, not work that well. It won't tell you the measurements if it's outside the ruler.
Right. So if it won't, well, we'll tell you measurements wherever, but if you don't have a ruler on your work plane, you won't be able to know what size things are. And that's really important if you're trying to create something with a specific size like this. So let's fire back over into Tinkercad for a second here. And what we're going to do while we're in Tinkercad is now we put a ruler in the scene, but we need to import our file. So I want you to click on Import, Lucas. And where it says choose a file, hang on a second. What I want you to do is to click down here, and then go to where it says downloads on this. You folks at home won't be able to see this because it's going to show up in another window. So click on that. And then what I want you to go is in your downloads folder. So right now, if you look at this shape, go down. We're looking, not that far. We're looking for the file that has the masks on it. And so for those of you who are home who are looking at this particular screen, what that's doing is that's giving us the opportunity to choose a file. And you can do this a couple ways. You can either just drag a file right onto it, or you can tell it that you want to create a file from scratch. And so I'm looking on here, and we have the file, and I just need to drag this back over. Thank you so much for all of you who are watching. for being patient with us here.
It's a live stream, uneditable.
It is a live stream.
It's ineditable.
Ineditable? Nice. Hang on, I'm going to do one quick thing here while we've got this open. And so here's the other issue that I'm running into, is that I think I might have actually deleted this from my downloads folder. Whoops. But I'm going to show you a quick way to get it back very, very quickly. Here it was, the show, and I am not prepared for this. We're going to go to Thingiverse. That's a really awesome website. So Thingiverse.com is a really cool site where you can actually find and print several 3D models. Like, by several, I mean thousands and thousands. And so they've got stuff like Baby Yoda, and they've got swords and rock tumblers and this cool cat. None of that's what we're looking for today. What we're looking for is the mask ear guard. We're going to type that in and see if that comes up with the search result we're looking for. So I see a couple different versions of it. And actually, there's a couple really nice versions out there. I like this flexible version. That's based off of the original, I'm sure. So what is happening is that thanks to the power of the internet, people can remix files and they can change them. And that's what's happened, is there's so many remixes of the original file that this file here isn't the original. It's just one that was based off another one that was based off another one.
That was based off another and another
for all eternity. Yes, that is true. I'm looking for one that I really like because I would like to get something to base off of that will print pretty quick. I'm going to grab this guy right here because this one should be fairly easy to modify. Ear guard. Here we go. And then thing files, and then what you do is you just pick the one that you want to print. Mark 7 small and small printable. That's the one I'm going to pick out today. And then it's going to download it into our folder. And once it's downloaded into our folder, we're going to come back over here to this screen. And I am literally dragging the file here. And it's going to show me, here is the file. What scale? We want to do it at 100% scale, and then we're going to import it just like this. So now we're back at our work plane, and you see this little guy.
Tiny.
That is really small. Oh, you know what this is? This is like standing upright as opposed to laying flat. So the person who created this model, bless them, made a model that is on the wrong axis. So we need to flip this. The easy way to do that is to grab this little rotation guy. If you see this, that is to rotate, and then I can rotate this
kind of like a point
to 90 degrees.
Oh,
it is kind of it's supposed to have this angle here. That angle is actually what helps it.
No, I thought like here. Can I please have it?
Hang on one second. I know you're really wanting to show off your amazing skills, which you do have. There we go. Okay, so take over.
I thought this was like off the ground in the middle, but it wasn't.
Gotcha.
It's just kind of like, it looks like an illusion when you're looking at it from this angle.
Right.
It looks like it's off the ground.
All right, so here's what we're going to do is we need to turn this into something we can print on our 3D printer. And this actually is, it appears to be very printable on our 3D printer because this is 15.69 millimeters. That's tiny. We might actually be able to print this one right away.
Tanya.
Let me just look at this because I'm fairly hopeful here. Let me open this with Cura.
Open with Cura. Open with Cura. That is what.
So if this slices right away, we'll actually be able to pop this right into the 3D printer, and that would be really cool. Let me see how big this is. We're waiting. We're waiting. We're waiting. Cura's kind of slow loading up the very first time. While it's doing that, Luke, why don't you head back to your chair because I've got something I wanted to have you help me with. We need to set up this printer. So to show everybody how easy this is, and here's why I like this printer so much, is that right out of the box, this guy is pretty much ready to go. They will, before they send you the printer, they will actually calibrate it, and they will make sure that it prints. And so for somebody who's never done a 3D print before, here, I'll pass this to you, Lucas. Can you plug that in back there? For somebody who's never, behind my computer, there should be an extra plug behind my computer over here. For someone who's never 3D printed anything before, this printer oftentimes, and I say oftentimes because not always, you can buy one, plug it in, and you can get started right away. And not always. It's not perfect because I've purchased several of these in the past, and I had one that I bought and it did not have, it was bad. It took me a long time to get that one to print because it just was not set up very well.
Which one was that?
That was, oh, there is a card in here. Sweet. The white one, I believe. So
The Monoprice?
yeah. I bought it brand new. And so I've bought 3 of these. I bought 2 used, and I bought 1 brand new, all through Amazon. The used ones weren't really used. They were just, somewhere in shipping, the package got messed up, and so they repackaged it in another box. They were still new machines. The 2 that I bought like that worked perfectly. And then I bought one that was supposedly brand new in the box, never touched before, and that one was the one that was hardest to get set up. So what I'm doing right now is I'm plugging this into my computer. This is just a very simple
The snow is melting.
the snow is melting.
Yeah, the snow on the roof is melting so fast that it looks like it's raining.
There are 1 or 2 people who are watching this from not Omaha. And for those of you who are watching this from not Omaha, we've had quite the adventure. We actually had like 7 inches of snow yesterday. It was, I still don't know quite what to think about that.
And it's right after Easter too.
I know, right? We're in April and we shouldn't have that sort of snow. All right, so what I'm doing now is I actually just plugged in the monitor. Now, if you look at the Monoprice here, we're going to go back to the overhead camera. It's a pretty self-explanatory machine. It's got, move this out of the way. It has a small set of buttons, and let me move to my desktop camera, actually. So this will make it a little bit easier for you guys to see what we're doing. All right, so it has an on-screen display. Now, this is not a touch screen, so I can't touch these and make them work. Everything I do has to be selected through a dial, and you can't really see these very clearly, but if you look over to the left, this is for printing, this is for monitoring and temperature, and this is for moving stuff. And so if I go to print, if there's a card in here, it will say, okay, here's the file. But there's no card in here right now, so it won't do anything. What I need to do is I need to go into our slicer, and I need to slice this file so that it will actually print. And I am really, really having trouble believing that this person truly intends for this to be printed this tiny. Lucas,
What?
why don't you tell them about some of the things you've learned using the program?
On Tinkercad, I have learned many things about 3D printing. And not just 3D printing, I've learned some physics too.
Oh, really? How'd you learn physics through this?
Well, it's kind of a long story, but long story short, one time I was experimenting with Tinkercad, and I had something on the wrong angle, and I learned that by the rules of physics, it will not fall down. It will fall. Some things can fall down if you have it things sticking out from the sides that don't have going out slightly. If you have it coming straight out from the sides, I've learned that will not work. And if you do like this, then that works even worse.
Well, I think one of the things you're talking about is how sometimes you have to design how the thing prints as you have to design things so that they'll print out really well. By the way, Devin is here from Topeka, Kansas. Hi, Devin. Glad to have you with us. It takes us a few seconds sometimes when we're in conversation to see a comment. Also, YouTube can be laggy, or not YouTube, my stream can be laggy, and so I don't always see things right away. But if you are here live, we are working on 3D printing. So we have this 3D printer overhead, and then we also are working over here on my screen, and I'm showing you a 3D print file that we just found. And so this file, again, whoever printed this prints it standing up, and this file is really, really tiny. Like I legitimately don't know if this is even functional with how small it is. So I'm going to move this. I just can't believe that this is how big they want it to be, because they're saying this thing is 4 millimeters wide, 15 millimeters long. We're going to scale this up a little bit. We're going to call this 300% scale. And 300%, even that, I don't know. I'm going to do 500. Okay.
500?
500%.
So we're going to do 5 times the size?
So, but look what that does here. When we're looking in the y-axis, and the cool thing about Cura is that it colors your axes. So you've got your y-axis, your x-axis, and your z-axis all colored to coordinate with up here. So see this green Y? I know this is that. So this is saying that my y-axis, this print is 78 millimeters long. Remember the convention I said, Luke, where I said if you're converting, the quick, easy way to convert millimeters to inches is how many millimeters per inch?
Right.
How many?
25.
25. All right. So if you have 20, or if you have 78 millimeters, how many inches is that?
Wait, did you say 78?
78.
Okay, so I'm going to bring that up to 80. It's called rounding.
Yep. And
So it's 25, 50, 75. Actually, I could round down to 75, and that would be about 3 inches.
about 3 inches. You're right. So that's about 3 inches long. So we're going to experiment. We're going to try it. And then what I have to do, though, is I have to slice the file. And so we're going to come over here back to our video. Here, I'll put myself in the corner so you can see me staring at my screen. Ooh, look. We have in Cura, there are settings, and I've got a slightly outdated version of Cura. So this is definitely not a brand new version. It's a few things are a little bit old, but the settings are all about the same. Wall line count, we're going to make it 2. Top layers, we're going to make it 2. Bottom layers, we're going to make this 2. How thick is this piece? This is only 0.5 millimeter thick, so we really aren't going to have that many layers to begin with. We're not going to generate supports, and so those are just things you might need, and we're going to make a skirt for build plate instead of a brim. This is just how the printer prepares to print stuff out. So now we have all of this set up, and we have an ear saver that will actually fit on our build plate. This is pretty awesome. I don't need any infill right now, so we're going to say 0 for infill just to make our lives easier. Speed, this prints pretty quick, this machine does. Walls, okay, everything looks good. So now, when I get that, I'm going to say prepare. And if you have a newer version, it's going to say slice. It says ready to save to file. This should take 3 minutes to print if everything works right. So we're going to come over here.
3 minutes?
Go to my computer. We're going to go to the... This is very interesting. I'm looking on my computer for my card, and I don't see it. Maybe it's on this removable disc. I don't think that's the one. I'm going to pull this out and see if I can get this to work, because what I'm dealing with right now is my card. There we go. That's what it was. I had my card in the wrong place. I'm going to plug this back in. There we go. Hey, look at that. It's back. It's back. Now, we're going to come over here. Cancel. Nope, we don't need to back up these files. And it's going to say save to removable drive now that it's found the drive. Okay, so we're going to save this in the drive, and we're going to eject the drive so I can take it out. So the next step that we have to do is I have to plug this little micro SD card into our printer. And so that just goes over here. And if this works out, and like if this turns out to be a decent ear saver, we might be printing out a whole lot of these, Lucas, because this could be a really neat option to speed up printing the ear savers. So we go to exit, And now what I'm going to do here, maybe if I go to my desk cam and I get it really, really close. Oh, yeah, there we go. I'll go to print. I have no idea what's on this thing, if anything. Oh, that's it. All right.
Free Build Friday, Frank gets freed. Right?
Oh, that's not the one that I just made.
Should we free Frank?
Here we go. Hang on. I'm looking for the file, and it's not finding the file that I just saved. Let's back up here for a second. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that I actually save this. Now, you could, if you wanted to, save the files onto a different sort of card. You could do that for other printers. This one works with the little micro SD. If you didn't want to save things on at all, you can technically plug this in to... Let's see. Yeah, you can technically plug this in to the computer directly, and you can do that. So now let's see. There it is. All right. So we're going to try this again. Save to removable drive. There we go. It's on there now. Ear guard. All right. I agree. My friend Keith just got on here and sent me a message, and I agree we should get together again at a safe social distance. Yeah. Lucas,
What?
come on now, be calm. All right, we're gonna print.
I am calm.
We're gonna go to our desk cam, and I'm gonna go to, let's see, there we go, back up so you can see that. Pick this up. And now what's going to happen is it's going to show you the screen that shows that it's getting ready to go. We're going to go to the overhead camera because this is actually going to be the fun camera for this build. Maybe if I get the desk
it's there's stuff coming out.
camera up. Sorry, T-Rexy. Trying to move this out of the way so that the viewers at home can see exactly what's happening here.
Look at the nozzle. There's like filament coming out.
The nozzle has filament coming out. It is true.
Uh-huh.
All right, so on a 3D printer, I'm putting my finger right behind it. This is the nozzle. And that little bit of filament that's oozing out here is because this has been heated up. Now, this is incredibly hot, so never, ever do that. But I had to get that off just so I could show you. The nozzle looks like a hot glue gun. And in fact, creaky chair, I've got a hot glue gun here. And you can see it's kind of the same principle, except where the hot glue gun deposits hot glue, that deposits filament, which is a piece of plastic.
There's
now,
more
we
stuff
use
coming out.
an environmentally friendly plastic called PLA. I know more will come out. It won't hurt anything. Gabe is with us. Hey, Gabe. Gabe is one of my former students. He is an awesome guy. I have had the privilege of being able to stay in touch with some of the kids that I've worked with in the past, and Gabe is a good dude. So let's see. Let's go over here. Okay, now you can see me, and you can see the printer
There's
here.
so much coming out.
Yep, it's okay. Come over here. So what's happening here is...
Is it sucking it
what's
back
happening
up?
here is I'm about to pan this up. There. Now we can see both. So first it has to take the nozzle and it has to find the zero, find the home. So everything has a home. You know, ET, phone home, same sort of principle. But what it's doing is it's actually taking the nozzle now and it's drawing a path here to there. And once it's drawn its path, yep, that's perfect. It's going to make the outline, which in 3D printing terms, that's called the skirt. That's the little line around it, because that's just something where it says this is the border within which I'm going to print. So again, this is a free build Friday, folks. So for those of you who are just tuning in and you're going, wait a minute, you guys aren't using the kit at all this week. We are using it Monday through Thursday, and in fact, Monday we have a really great build coming up. On Fridays, we do Free Build Friday, so I get to decide what we're doing. And today, I have decided that we are watching a 3D printer. So this should only take about 3 minutes, which is actually pretty good. Luke, I know that you've printed out some stuff before. What's the longest thing that you've ever made that 3D printed?
Well, of all things that I've 3D printed, I think the one that took the longest to print took like a day or two. I called it my magic crystal.
Oh, the magic crystal. I remember that one.
Yeah, and it was, we basically just, we took a shape and stretched it out so that it looked like a crystal, and we put it on top of a rectangular, we put it on top of a rectangular prism, and we wrote the words magic crystal on it.
But the cool thing is, what was it made? What kind of filament did we make it out of?
We made it out of color changing filament. You can't see it right now, but over that way we have a donation wall, and that is everybody who has donated to our makerspace.
You can see just a little bit of it over here in the corner.
And some of the things on this wall can actually change color.
Yep, we actually printed all of those out of color changing film. The cool thing about 3D printing is that people have come up with all sorts of cool ways to use it in innovative ways. One of the things people have done is to make color change filament. That's filament that is one color, but then when you hold it in your hand and it gets warm, it changes to another color. I've made a lot of stuff out of that stuff. It is so fun. They also have glow-in-the-dark filament, and there's some special things you need to know about that.
Like clear filament?
Clear filament. There's all different types of plastics. We're using PLA plastic, which is a biodegradable corn-based plastic. But then you also have plastics that come from things like ABS plastic, which is like the stuff that car dashes are made out of.
Ugh.
And you have PETG plastic, which is the same as Coke bottles, or if you drink like plastic drink bottles, which those are all okay kinds of plastic. They're good for different purposes. The nice thing I like about PLA is if you throw it in the landfill, eventually it will disintegrate and you don't have to worry about, hey, am I stupid to the environment? Gabe said, thanks for the shout out. For those of you who are watching on our other channels, we broadcast on YouTube and on Facebook simultaneously. And so, Gabe, you are very welcome for the shout out. I personally am happy to give a shout out to anybody who is a decent human being, and it makes me proud because they left my classroom and they did something awesome with their life, and they're being a decent human being like you are. So keep it up. So this thing says it's done printing, and it printed out this little tiny ear guard. I'm going to try to peel this off with my fingers here, and I can. That's awesome. Okay. Now the very first thing I'm going to say about this thing, what do you think my first complaint is, Lucas?
It did not have very good quality.
Quality, but it's really flimsy.
Oh.
I think this model that they presented is not the best, because I think if I pulled on these too hard, that these would not hold the ears anymore. Plus, it's so tiny.
Wait,
Look,
hold on.
Here's full size. Here's mini size. Full size, mini size.
It only fits.
It's like half the size.
It fits in one of the sides of that whole full size.
So that one I don't think turned out so well.
I've got an idea.
What's up?
Print it at 100% instead of 500, and see how small it is.
I don't know if I want to do that, because that would be silly. But let's try another experiment here, since we're all about experimenting.
I just want to see how small it is.
This is going to be a very interesting Friday episode. All right, so I am going to rotate this guy, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this as big as it will possibly get. We're going to make it, let's see if it will print at 800%. I can make it fit, and then I'm going to I should show you guys what I'm doing. So I rotated it on the board so that you can see I've expanded this to not 8,004%. That would be a bad idea. 800%. But then I'm going to take off uniform scaling, because I think this probably could stand to be just a touch thicker than it is. And so what we're going to do, and we're going to try to hopefully make this person's model a little better. We're going to take that up to 1,000%, so it's a little beefier. So now that's 1.25 millimeters.
What about 8,004?
No. Perfect. And so that's X. Y can go back to 800. I don't know why it's doing that.
Instead of 8,004?
Oh, I know why it did that. Because when I took off uniform scaling and I changed this, what it's saying is that when I changed one dimension, it by default changed the other dimensions. That makes sense to me. Well, let's make this uniform, and we're going to make it fit again on the build plate. There we go. Almost. There we go. Now it fits. Okay. So this is their model, and we have modified it so it's a little thicker. It probably fits a little bit better. We're going to prepare this and see what it comes out to. So this one says it's going to take a little bit more time to print. So I don't know if we're going to have time to print this one on the actual episode because it's 18 minutes and we're already running up at 40 minutes here. So I'm going to try to print it though, because if this does print well, this might be something that we print out multiple copies of. 3D printing is an iterative process, which means that you can make something, decide you don't like it, then remake it, and decide you don't like it, then remake it again. And that's okay. That's how you do stuff with 3D printing. You make and make again. And so we're going to go home on here, and I'm going to set up the printer. Let's go to the overhead camera, just so people can see what we're doing. Print. We're going to come over here, and we're going to come here to our file, and ear guard. Yay! Hopefully this will work much better. I'm going to peel off this little piece of plastic here. So what have we learned today? Well, we've learned that the Monoprice Select Mini is a neat printer. It's easy to use, easy to set up, and very inexpensive. We have learned that it has some limitations with size. It can't print full-size equipment, but we have also learned that thanks to cool websites like Thingiverse and Tinkercad, we can find files and we can modify them. Sometimes, here's something else we learned, not all files are the same value. Some might print out even at 500%, which means that at 100% it would have been like that big, little guy.
Ooh, I want to try a 100%.
I know you do.
Do it on my printer.
Maybe we will. But we've learned that sometimes people upload files that are not the best quality, and you might have to make changes to make them work. But lastly, we learned that you can make some minor changes to those files before you print in Cura or other 3D slicing software. So it was a day full of learning and full of fun. I appreciate everybody who's tuned in for this Free Build Friday. We had a good time. I had fun. Did you have fun, Lucas?
Yes, I had fun launching a catapult at you.
Why do we keep launching catapults at me? I don't get. We built the catapult like a week ago. So Monday, we've got some really cool stuff going. If you didn't hear my warning yesterday, bring your kits Monday. Bring glue Monday. We need glue. Glue. Luke, what do we need on Monday? Glue as we stretch out like we didn't get enough sleep. I'm so tired.
Yeah, glue makes me tired.
All right. Anyway, it has been a fun day. I am Jim. I have been your host. This little guy over here is Lucas. He is my build apprentice. You've been watching Kitbashing. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. We hope to see you Monday for a fun, slightly more planned out episode. Take care.